December 14, 1972. Eugene Cernan climbs the ladder of the Lunar Module Challenger. He becomes the last human being to ever stand on the moon. That was over 50 years ago. NASA had the rockets. NASA had the funding. NASA had 12 men who had already walked that grey surface, and then, silence. Something happened up there. Something the astronauts hinted at, then refused to explain. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why they may have been ordered never to return. To understand the silence, we have to understand the promise. May 25, 1961. President John F. Kennedy stands before Congress and pledges that America will land a man on the moon before the decade ends. It was an impossible goal. The technology didn't exist. The math hadn't been done. Yet in just 8 years, NASA built the Saturn V, the most powerful machine ever constructed. The Apollo program consumed 4% of the federal budget. 400,000 people worked on it. Failure was not an option. And then, just as suddenly, it was abandoned. Between 1969 and 1972, NASA landed 6 crewed missions on the moon. Apollo 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17. 12 men walked. They collected 842 pounds of lunar rock. They planted instruments. They drove rovers. They photographed everything. From the outside, it looked like the beginning of a new era, humanity's first steps toward becoming a multi-planet species. Lunar bases were on the drawing board. Mars missions were planned for the 1980s. But behind closed doors at NASA headquarters, something was already shifting. The future had been quietly cancelled. Apollo 17 was supposed to be the middle of the program, not the end. Apollo 18, 19, and 20 were funded, built, and assigned crews. Astronauts had trained for years. Hardware sat in warehouses ready to fly. Then, in 1970, with no public warning, the missions were quietly killed. The official reason was budget cuts. But the cancelled Saturn V rockets ended up as museum displays, billions of dollars worth of working spacecraft, mothballed forever. No agency throws away functioning rockets to save money. Something else was driving the decision. Then came the strangest revelation of all. In 2006, NASA admitted that the original high-resolution telemetry tapes from the Apollo 11 landing, the master recordings, were missing. Not damaged. Not destroyed. Missing. The agency searched for 3 years before quietly announcing they had likely been erased and reused to record satellite data. The most historic recordings in human history, treated like blank cassettes. To this day, no one at NASA can explain how that decision was made, or by whom. The original record of mankind's greatest moment had simply vanished. Then the rumors began. Ham radio operators around the world claimed they had picked up an unfiltered audio feed during the Apollo 11 landing. According to multiple accounts, Neil Armstrong's voice was heard describing massive objects on the rim of a crater, watching the astronauts. The transmission was allegedly cut from the public broadcast. NASA has officially denied this story for decades. But former NASA employee Otto Binder, along with several Soviet scientists, insisted the transmission was real. Whatever Armstrong saw, the world was never meant to hear about it. Neil Armstrong was the most private man in American history. After 1969, he refused nearly all interviews. He gave no autographs. He spoke rarely about the mission. But in 1994, at a White House ceremony, he made a haunting remark. He said there are great ideas waiting to be discovered, quote, protected by truth's protective layers. He stopped speaking. He looked down. The room went silent. Many believe it was the closest he ever came to telling the world that something on the moon had been hidden from public knowledge. Other voices were less guarded. Astronaut Edgar Mitchell, who walked on the moon during Apollo 14, openly stated in his later years that intelligent life had visited Earth. He claimed the cover-up was real. He named names. Astronaut Gordon Cooper testified before the United Nations about unidentified craft. These were not internet conspiracy theorists. These were decorated military pilots and engineers, men with security clearances higher than the president. And nearly every one of them began speaking out only after they retired from NASA. Active astronauts have never confirmed a word. Even stranger, NASA itself has admitted that it has lost the technology to return to the moon. In 2012, the agency's own administrator confirmed that the blueprints, the suppliers, and the engineering knowledge of the Saturn V had been allowed to deteriorate beyond use. Think about that. The most successful spacecraft ever built, and humanity simply forgot how to make it. No private company loses its crown jewel like that. No nation discards its greatest achievement. Unless someone, somewhere, made sure that returning to the moon would be made deliberately difficult. Skeptics offer a scientific explanation: the Van Allen radiation belts. These massive zones of charged particles surround the Earth, and any astronaut passing through them risks deadly exposure. Some researchers argue that the Apollo missions barely survived, and that returning would be far more dangerous than NASA ever admitted. If true, it means the 1969 landings were not the beginning of an era, they were a desperate gamble that succeeded by luck. And every administration since has quietly understood that doing it again could end in catastrophe broadcast to the world. Then there is the Soviet silence. The USSR had every reason to expose a faked moon landing. They had the technology to track Apollo. They had spies inside American defense networks. They were locked in a desperate propaganda war. Yet they congratulated NASA. They never challenged the missions. Some historians argue this proves the landings were real. Others suggest something more troubling, that both superpowers discovered something on the moon, and both agreed never to speak of it again. The Cold War had its own gentlemen's agreements. Now consider China. In 2019, China's Chang'e 4 became the first probe ever to land on the far side of the moon, the side humans have never seen with their own eyes. Almost immediately, conflicting reports emerged. Photographs released to the public were heavily edited. Areas of the surface were blurred. China's space agency offered no explanation. Within months, the United States announced the Artemis program, a sudden, urgent push to put Americans back on the moon. After 50 years of silence, the race had restarted. Something on that surface was suddenly worth the risk again. And then there is Buzz Aldrin. In 2015, during a televised interview, the second man to walk on the moon broke down in tears as he described what he saw on the way there. He spoke of an object near the Apollo 11 craft, something that paced them, something that moved with intention. NASA later explained it as a discarded panel from the rocket. Aldrin accepted that explanation publicly, but his face on that broadcast told a different story. The man who had seen the impossible could no longer pretend it had been nothing. Even the Vatican is part of this story. The Holy See operates one of the most advanced telescopes in the world, located in Arizona, called the Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope. Its primary instrument carries a strange name, Lucifer. Vatican astronomers have publicly discussed the theological implications of extraterrestrial life. Why would the Church invest in such powerful astronomy? What are they watching for? Some believe the answer connects directly to lunar observations made during the Apollo-era observations the public was never permitted to see. Persistent rumors describe structures on the moon. Anomalous images from Apollo missions show what appear to be towers, geometric shadows, and reflective objects on the dark side. NASA dismisses every photograph as light artifacts or pareidolia, the human tendency to see patterns in random shapes. Yet former Pentagon insiders, including officials connected to the recent UAP disclosures in Congress, have hinted that humanity is not alone, and that we have known this for decades. The moon, they suggest, is not as empty as the textbooks claim. Mainstream scientists push back hard against all of this. They argue the truth is far simpler. The Apollo program was driven by Cold War politics, not exploration. Once America beat the Soviets, the political will evaporated. Budgets were slashed. Public interest faded. There were no aliens, no hidden cities, no secret pacts, just a nation that achieved its goal and moved on to other priorities. By this view, the silence after Apollo isn't a mystery. It's a tragedy. And the lost technology is simply the inevitable cost of abandoning a dream. But the financial argument has cracks. The total cost of Apollo, adjusted for inflation, was about $280 billion. The United States has since spent trillions on wars, bailouts, and surveillance programs. The moon was always affordable. The will to return existed in every administration. Engineers begged for new missions. Astronauts volunteered. The Constellation program was launched, then quietly killed. Decade after decade, every serious effort to return collapsed at the political level. Something kept pulling the plug. The question is, what and who? Now Artemis is changing everything. NASA's new lunar program plans to land astronauts, including the first woman, near the moon's south pole, where massive deposits of frozen water have been confirmed. Officially, the goal is sustainable exploration and a future Mars mission. But internal documents speak of strategic resources, military partnerships, and a new lunar economy. The race is no longer just between nations. Private companies, including SpaceX and Blue Origin, are pouring billions into reaching the surface. Whatever is up there, the smartest people on Earth want it. And still, mysteries pile up. Why has NASA never released the full archive of Apollo photographs? Why are certain images blurred or cropped, decades after they were taken? Why do retired astronauts speak in riddles? Why did the United States sign a 1967 treaty banning weapons on the moon and then quietly establish the Space Force in 2019? Every official answer leaves more questions than it resolves. The moon, our closest neighbor, has become the most classified destination in human history. And no one in power will say why. Perhaps the real answer lies in something Eugene Cernan once said. The last man on the moon, speaking decades after his mission, told an interviewer that he believed humanity would return, but not in his lifetime, because the world had not yet earned the right. He paused before saying it. He chose every word. He never elaborated. He died in 2017. Whatever he knew, whatever he carried back from that grey, silent world, went with him into the dark. And the moon waits, exactly as it has for 50 years. So why has NASA never returned? Was it really budgets and politics, or was it something witnessed, something agreed upon, something so unsettling that 12 men spent the rest of their lives speaking in riddles? The Artemis missions may finally answer the question. Or they may add another chapter to the longest silence in space exploration history. Either way, the next footprints on the moon will not just be steps forward. They will be steps into a mystery that the most powerful agency on Earth has guarded for half a century. If this story disturbed you the way it disturbed us, subscribe to the Forgotten Archive, where we uncover the secrets history tried to bury. Hit the bell so you never miss an investigation. Drop a comment below. Do you believe NASA is hiding something on the moon, or is the truth simpler than it seems? And watch our next episode, where we reveal the classified Apollo 20 mission that NASA insists never happened, but the photographs say otherwise. The archive is open. The truth is waiting. Step inside.